do is pull this brake back, and it's maintaining 1 minute and 5. We've been talking about them in out the front now for 10 kilometres. The needle of the dial's hardly shifted. What, 10 seconds have been chopped off?
Yeah, only 10 seconds. That was the thing that caught my eye when we were watching how fast this peloton is moving, how many different teams are getting involved in the chase. But then the clock caught my eye. I said they've still got more than a minute inside 20k to go. This is a really impressive effort by the two riders off the front.
Just over 19 kilometres remain, and it's a golden opportunity for somebody to make a name for themselves on the world stage. It's the opening day of the 5-stage O Gran Camiño race in Galicia that today has a stage finish over the border and their brother culture in Portugal. I say that not just for the Iberian nations, Spain and Portugal, but Galicia has a special relationship with Portugal. Certainly in language, very, very close to each other. They're much closely related, and even Spanish and Portuguese. That was the Porto airport, just up the top right-hand side of the last picture. Many of these riders will arrive the other day. And that is Martin Marcelluzzi, will arrive from Rome.
And the gap now, Rob, just dipping under the minute, down to 58 seconds. So that chase now starting to have a real impact on these two. But it also depends how long that cohesion lasts behind. There's a few different teams, some of the Portuguese continental level teams getting amongst the work. But if they decide, OK, that's enough of us, there might be another little moment of standoff for who takes over. Israel Premier Tech there on the left. Right in the wheel of the rider here in orange is half the squad of Uno X Mobility. Interlaced with riders from Polti. Here come a couple more of the Uno X, just getting themselves back in position with Magnus Kort.
Profile just about to change again. There's no classified climbs remaining, Robbie, and there's proof of what we were just telling you. Tell you, if they've got any trophies and stuff and strange things to take home, they'll hope they've had a word with the logistics staff.
You get charged extra.
Naming no names. But yes, the profile just about to go uphill again, Robbie, and maybe another opportunity, another bit of worry for faster riders. And we talked about that Tough Fair team and their green jerseys. The last time we looked there, the gap had magically come down by 15 seconds and they disappeared. It was a different calibre of teams again. And look at this, left-hand side now, red jersey of Uno X, the white, green and red now of Polti Visit Malta, and behind Soudal Quickstep. It is amazing. People talk about the level between different teams in cycling, different categories of team. That gap just disappeared. Well, 15, 20 seconds disappeared while we had those few riders from the higher ranked teams just magically appear there at the front, Robbie.
Yeah, and then started to push on, and they've taken advantage of the work done by those smaller teams, but now just making sure they're keeping that momentum. Uphill drag at the moment. This goes through until about 16.3 kilometres to go. Then we've got a descent of, let's see, it's about 2 kilometres at 3% downhill. So that's going to be good news for these two riders. Got about another 500 metres of the road dragging up. They get some respite fast downhill. Yes, you've still got to push the pedals as hard as you can, but you're covering that distance really quickly. So they'll be, on that section, they'll be up around 60 kilometres an hour again and edging ever closer to the finish. And 50 seconds, 16k to go. I don't believe it's enough, but it's enough to give you hope that something might happen behind.
If uphill, trying to move up again in those orange jerseys. Not quite as easy as it was before, however. And we've got some spoiling tactics going on as well. Second wheel, you see the rider from Illes Baleares. Robbie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine that rider's going to come to the front and ride, but not quite with the same intensity as the other riders in the line.
Yeah, well, we're about to see if he comes through at all or just follows the wheel across. There was a wave of the hand there from the rider from Polti Cometa. Yeah, but that rider from Illes Baleares in second wheel, that'll be a firm no.
And for those of you maybe switching on for the first time, that's because he doesn't want them in that group to catch his mate, who's up the road and in the breakaway. 43 seconds, just over 15 kilometres to go. On our way to Matosinhos, which is just in the northern part of Porto, right down by the seaside. I promise you at the start today it was seaside weather as well. Maybe not warm enough, but certainly very, very sunny and very nice. Well, this next climb that they're just about to hit here, straight up the road, it's not classified, Robbie, but we've still got sections at 6, 7, 8%.
Yeah, again, it's this rolling terrain. The break still on this fast downhill section, but about to hit another drag up. As you said, 2 to 3% drag, but then a few little spikes in it. But on that last drag uphill, that's where we saw that the peloton, they've ripped 11, 12 seconds off these two. So it's starting to take its toll on our two breakaway riders. But it's been a really good effort to build the gap that they had of around a minute 15. But the reaction certainly coming from the peloton, and the World Tour team's not going to have the wool pulled over their eyes.
35 seconds now. If you're just switching on today, a very warm welcome to the brand new home of cycling on TNT Sports, and hello to all of you watching on Eurosport in the UK as well. It's wonderful to have you all with us. I'm afraid we don't have Matt Walls with us today. He was the British sprinter who was the big favourite. He fell ill and has been unable to take the start. So Groupama, one sprinter down. We don't have too many big sprint names here, but it's a real open end to this stage, and it's being furiously ridden. Back on some more out-of-town cobbles. And up the hill again now. Two breakaway riders, Martin Marcellusi and Albor Sagrado. An Italian and a Spaniard riding in a race that is a Spanish race, the northwest of Spain in Galicia, but today has its opening stage just over the border in Portugal. Started in Maia, finishing in Matosinhos. And these two riders attacked, what is it now, 15 kilometres or so ago, a bit longer. And after the first early breakaway of 6 riders, came back together with 40-odd K still to go. Soudal Quick-Step on the front with 13.5 Ks to go. They've still got 32 seconds to catch those two riders attacking up the road. Marcellusi and Sagrado away. Soudal Quick-Step with just 3 senior riders in their 7-man lineup. 4 riders from the under-23 development team are helping them out as well here. A great opportunity to give them some experience. Today we expect it for them to be for Jordi Wadlop. But again, Robbie, the great thing today is we are guessing all the way to the line.
Yeah, we are. And I think also one of the young Italian from Soudal Quick-Step, Federico Savino, also got a pretty handy turn of speed, a really strong rider. So it could be for him as well, but I would think that he would be a lead-out man for Jordi Wadlop. That's probably the tandem we'll be looking at coming into the finish. Rider's been dropped already off the back. Just got our first glimpse there of Matosinhos. In fact, it's an opportunity, I think, to go back to the car for Unai Aznar, maybe helping Jon Aguirre back to the peloton as well. Yeah, a couple of concerned-looking teammates there, constantly looking over the shoulder.
It's a puncture for Berrade. It's a puncture for their GC man. Expect to see him come into shot. There he is. So 2 riders from the team waiting for Urco Berrade. He is their GC rider here. Very good rider. You'll all remember back to the Vuelta a España last year, won't you, when he took the victory in the Basque Country. Really special first pro win for him. And well, he started off this season winning in Valencia as well at the Clásica Camp de Morvedre, a brand new race. He's had a really solid start to the season. So Urco Berrade hoping to avoid any bad luck after that puncture and get back on. And well, he had 2 teammates to help him do that job, and there's still 12.5 Ks to go, Robin.
I do remember that stage when now of Berrade, that late attack and holding off the chasing peloton. It was absolutely brilliant, and there were tears flowing at the finish line. no shortage of emotion on that one. It was beautiful to watch. But plenty of riders being dropped out the back now. So this is a tricky moment when you're trying to bring a team leader back who's out of mechanical. Lots of dropped riders. You could get to the point where you then get a barrage of the following vehicles, and you have to try and ride across the gap on your own instead of just following the slipstream of the cars. And at this point of the race, that can get extremely difficult.
Polti working now for Giovanni Lonardi, one of the favourites for victory. A reminder that Polti Visit Malta have not won since last April at the Tour of Turkey. Is today to be their day? A kickstart to the new season, back on track, and positivity heading towards a probable appearance at the Giro d'Italia. We shall see for Alberto Contador's team. A reminder, he's on the ground today. We saw him cutting the ribbon at the start, signifying that the stage was officially open. 20 seconds up to the two men in the breakaway. It's now looking not great for those two, you'd have to say.
No, that gap really shrinking now, 20 seconds, and onto the sort of wider open road, so the Peloton will be getting a visual on these two as well now, and they'll be like a dog with a bone. They will chase it for as long as it needs to be chased.
And it's a ferocious chase. Soudal Quick-Step and Uno-X. We've just seen that Polti Visit Malta had a rider at the front, so he's just going to sit at the back of that line. So at least 5 riders chasing 2 here, Robbie. That's how committed they are. The gap's down to 18, 17 seconds, and behind it's just as committed to try and save the general classification for Urco Berrade, and he's still got quite a bit of a gap. You talked about the cars there. It's not an easy chase, that. The talk is that they're still, well, there it is. It's almost 35 seconds, nearly 40 now.
So they have made that barrage now, and you can see the concern of the team director trying to get the car up there, wanting to go past and provide them with some slipstream, as that Maciulussi has now left Sagrado in his wake. Sagrado has just about had enough. Maciulussi with one more acceleration, but just 13 seconds now, the gap to the chasing peloton.
Maciulussi seeing the gap come down. Yeah, Maciulussi seeing the gap come down. Sagrado sacrificed. Back onto the cobbles. Here is Sagrado. Just a few seconds now in front of the chasing peloton. And you start to worry for Urco Berrade.
Well, you can see that's going to be the gap to Berrade, 42 seconds, 41. But, yep, they did indeed make that barrage. And as I said, the big problem was going to be catching dropped riders. Then there's just no tolerance for those riders getting an easy passage back through the convoy. So the commissaires just pull all the vehicles out of the way and leave you with just a yawning gap in front of you to close when the race is going into pretty much full throttle now in the final 10 kilometres.
There aren't too many nailed-on opportunities for a sprint. This is the best-looking one on paper. We know anything can happen on bike racing, but for those riders who have fast finishers in their teams, it's time to commit for them and try and make it a possibility. For Urco Berrade, they're trying to commit to save the general classification. He's a top climber. He showed that at the Vuelta a España last year in the breakaway when he won in the Basque Country. He's already won a one-day race this year, and they want to give him the same chance today. You're looking at number 4 there, Max Boch, a rider from Groupama FDJ, from their development team. And Martin Marcellusi is now the sole leader of the race. He's down 9 kilometres from the finish. 12 seconds.
12 seconds would be the absolute minimum gap he would need going under the Flamme Rouge for the last kilometre with 9k to go. Well, they really do have him in their sights. He's prolonging this adventure as long as he possibly can. But the gap here is going in the wrong direction for Berrade.
40 seconds. Make it 41 as you see Sagrado about to be caught by the peloton. Aegis Baleares have been involved in both breakaways today. They've had a good day. It was always going to be a big ask, wasn't it? He really buried himself to get away at the first ask as well. Here comes Soudal Quick-Step. Now just one man left to chase. Martin Marcellusi. The carrot in front of him is a big one. It's the possibility of a first ever pro bike race win. He's been on the biggest stage at the Giro d'Italia. Here he is in the west of Europe on the Iberian Peninsula, looking for win number 1. This is Urco Berrade group. And that awkward roundabout, three-quarters of the way around it, speed knocked right off. Another acceleration out of it, Robbie.
Yeah, another acceleration required to get back up to speed. But they got as close as 41 seconds to the peloton, which would have been even closer to the back of it, because the times are taken from where the motos are, and that would have been at the front of the peloton. So they got really close, but it's drifting again, and they're now almost a minute behind the bunch. And look how strung out it is. Look at the back of the picture there. Really, that elastic band stretching out with this series of roundabouts and corners. Soudal Quickstep pushing the pace now, really stringing things out. Got a lot of riders under pressure, and this is going to be, I'd say, near on impossible for Berrade and Equipo Cadenfarma to return to the peloton.
You're watching a bunch that has been from the quiet villages of northern Portugal that's now on the wide roads, the outskirts, the industrial estates, motorways of Porto, the big city. We finished just outside of it by the sea in Matosinhos, and there's one rider still up the road being chased from a second breakaway of the day, and those chasing are hoping to set up a sprint. 2 more riders dropping back at the back of the peloton to try and help out a rider who's had a puncture, a rider who started today hoping to win at the end of the 5 days of racing that take us from the old Portuguese pilgrimage route, the Camino Português, to Santiago, through Galicia, through the other routes that come from all over the Iberian Peninsula, as far away as France. We'll be celebrating them over the next 5 days, but we're beginning Portugal, on the way to Santiago, and losing his way on one of the routes already is Urco Berrade. 2 more riders dropping back ahead means it's really serious stuff, and it's team time trial stuff for them now.
It is, and all the way to the line. But in a stage race as short as this, a loss of 40, 50 seconds is going to be fatal for your GC chances. And I'm just looking at the front of this peloton as Maciulussi has now conceded, I'm caught, and even this close to the finish, feeling the need to put in some fuel, but looking really well organised. Look at the men in the red and yellow with Magnus Cort from Uno X. There's 5 or 6 of them all around the front of the peloton, and at the moment just looking for each other, waiting for the right moment to really hit it before they start that full lead out there at the front, but not with everybody full steam ahead, just getting themselves organised, pushing and shoving for a little bit of space. Polti Cometa right next to, Polti Visit Malta rather, right next to Uno X, just trying to shove their way in on that lead out and get themselves a bit of a free ride with their man Lunardi.
Coming up to a right turn that will take them up on a straight line. There's a 180 after that alongside the beach, and they will come down on the other side of that road. You can see the cars just coming to the left-hand side. So we will go past this lighthouse again, the Farol de Lissa. It's a big straight road up the coast and a big straight road down the coast. Keep your eyes on the wind and what that's doing as well. Robbie, as you know, all important in any sprint finish. But for now, there are 5 kilometres to go and still 49 seconds of a delay for Urco Berrade, who had that puncture, and he's seeing his GC opportunities not go up in smoke yet. That's never the case this early in a stage race, but in a 5-day race, that's a big problem on day 1. Let's see how it goes. Left-hand side, Urian Stud has just been fighting for his position for Uno X. This is the position behind. It's still 50 seconds, and despite dropping more riders back, they're not getting any closer here, Robbie McEwen.
No, they're not. I mean, there's too much firepower at the front of that peloton. There's been riders just sitting in the wheels, now pushing forward to bring their sprinters and the lead-out men into position, so that speed is just ramping up all the time. I would say this group are going to find themselves well over a minute behind by the time they get to the finish, because in the peloton, it's only going to get quicker. Uno X Mobility now got themselves over on for them, what is the right-hand side of the road, up against the gutter, keeping Magnus Cort out of the wind, and just protecting that one side, so everyone else can only pass on one side. They can't get themselves completely swamped.
4 kilometres to go. Don't be fooled by the shape of this. They're going quickly. The 2 riders finally arrive. It's taken a while to get there. I can tell you the man who's just pulling at the front now is number 55. That's Ibon Ruiz. We saw him at the breakaway the other day, and car by car, they're moving up and into the gap now. Left-hand side, Uno X keeping that position, probably way as out the wind as they can. Obama moving up as well. The back of their line, Oscar Nilsson Julien, good track rider. Of course, now competing for France, but born and raised in London. He was in the British track setup until last winter when he decided to change to the country of his heritage. And of course, he is a British born and raised rider, now racing for France. He's wearing number 7. This year he's on the development team at Groupama FDJ. Interesting to see if he can do anything towards the end as well. 97 there, he's Jon Aguirre, left-hand side in the orange jersey for Euskaltel. On the right, at the back of the line, number 31, Magnus Cort Nielsen. Big 180 coming up, Robbie.
Yeah, big 180, and then they just head in that southerly direction along the coastline. The last 3 kilometres, straight ahead down to the finish. Nothing in their way, an arrow straight line in. Uno X Mobility just separated. They got Magnus Cort with 2 teammates on the left of picture. Just trying to work their way around the other side. A couple more teammates from Uno X that just can't seem to find their way across to their teammates. Movistar now moving up left of picture as well. A lot of heads on swivels, Rob, looking for sprinters.
Look at that.
And that's a hard thing to see as a pre-race GC favourite, to see it riding away from you on day one. Still 52 seconds the gap to Berardi.
Portuguese time trialist Nelson Oliveira is the man most advanced from Movistar. It looks as though he's looking after Carlos Canal, rider from Galicia. He sits just 3 or 4 bike lengths behind. Now Israel Premier Tech move up at the bottom of your picture in the white and blue. Polti Visit Malta have a big train, big loud lead out. They have a massive opportunity to take their first win since last April. And the man who's going to try and fire them to glory is the man who won on that day in Turkey, their Italian sprinter Giovanni Lonardi. We're moving to 2.1 kilometres to go now. This is hotting up. And behind, they're not going to get back in. It's 52 seconds.
No, they're not going to get back in. And at the front now, Uno X Mobility, all their riders have now found each other. One more coming up on the left of screen, but they've now got 5 riders together. There were 3, another 2 separated. They've joined all together. 1.8k to go. They're ready to launch this big lead out for Magnus Cort.
Just to the north of Porto, in Matosinhos, we await the arrival of the opening stage of O Gran Camiño. This is a race that celebrates the roots of pilgrimage, taking the right road, the right path. Who's going to do it here in the final 1.5 kilometres to the finish line? Look out for those white, green and red jerseys of Polti Visit Malta. One by one they peel off and they are ready. It's the red, yellow and orange of Uno X that's trying to set up Magnus Cort. He's on the right-hand side, just on the wheel of the man who's going to lead him out, who's Fredrik Dvernes. On the left-hand side, there's elbow stuff there. It looks as though in this picture everybody's okay and still there, but has it put somebody off their stride? The pace is really up here, Rory, heading up now into the final kilometre. Flamme Rouge.
That was shoulder to shoulder. And Magnus Cort, he hit the rider next to him, but he also hit a drain grate in the road, and that was a really close call for Magnus Cort as they just swing to the right and back to the left and right on the shoreline. Always a little bit of a breeze pushing in off the ocean as well. Magnus Cort in a good position here, but intermingled there with Polti Visit Malta.
And it's the lead out that begins now for them, with Mitko Maestri trying to do that. Giovanni Lonardi's on his wheel, ready, set and waiting to go. Magnus Cort's going to launch off the wheel if he can. There's an opportunity too for Jordi Wadlop. He's the man in the blue with 400 metres to go now. On this near side, it's going to be Magnus Cort who launches early. He's gone for it here. The man in the red, he is there. It's 200 metres to the line now, trying to come around though and threaten him though for Etapa. But it's Santiago Missa in the orange trying to get behind. He can't do it though. It's Magnus Cort all the way, and Magnus Cort Nielsen wins for Uno X. That was a long sprint. He really launched it all the way, and Magnus Cort takes victory for Uno X, who rode all day. Cort wins for the 2nd time in his career at O Gran Camiño. He's taken the right route, and he's taken the route to the first yellow jersey. Behind, though, Robbie McEwen, it wasn't all pleasant, was it? The rider there is Chumin Juaristi in the orange on the ground.
Not a big fall for Guaristi, but luckily not a big bunch fall. Here comes the group of Berardi in the background as well. So they are going to lose what looks to be over a minute by the time they get into the finish. But Magnus Cort, what a long-range sprint. I mean, we've seen it from him before. I'm not hugely surprised by it, but what a magnificent effort. And he looked to be getting tackled by the rider from Euskaltel. Came briefly up alongside. Looked like he was going to get over the top. But Cort persisted, held him off. In fact, it was from Etapa.
It was Santiago Mesa, I think, from Etapa. We'll get double check on that. Difficult to see from the head-on shot, but certainly Magnus Cort. When we were still on the sign-on shot there, he launched that sprint very early indeed.
Really, initially I thought, well, here goes the lead-out, because it was still so far to go, and it was Magnus Cort himself. But we've seen just the amount of power and the long-range power, that sprint endurance, I like to call it, of Magnus Cort. He's not a typical sprinter. He's not an out-and-out sprinter. He's a guy with so much content.
Robbie, talk us through these final 500 metres then.
Well, as we swung onto the ocean front here, it was Polti Visit Malta, who looked to be in a really commanding position. And in fact, Magnus Cort was just battling to get himself in the wheels, and he wasn't even on the wheel of Lonardi. So he's back there in fourth wheel. Watch it on the left side. Just steps out into the wind and opens up, and giving, in all honesty, a really free shot to the rider who was able to follow him through. Lonardi sees it. He was, I think, surprised by how far that he went from, and Lonardi has had to sit down. The gap opens up. Here comes Mesa, just stepping out to the right, but never really got up next to Cort. Just so much power. That was quite incredible. Just watch him step out into the wind.
This was the moment.
Off not a real lead out.
He's about to appear in the shot. Right on this near side, Magnus Cort Nielsen. It's Mirko Maestri who's doing a mighty turn there. There's Lonardi who looks across. This is Magnus Cort. Mesa gets into the slipstream. And it's amazing how he's able to hold on, Robin.
You know what I really like? That's a great tracking shot of Magnus Cort. How still his body is. How still he is through the hips, through the shoulders. That is all power, all control. That is a man in form. No wrenching around on the bike and nothing getting sort of out of shape, out of place. He was solid as a rock.
A few speed bumps in the final few hundred metres again. We'll talk about that in the last few weeks. No problem for Magnus Cort. He wins stage one and takes the yellow jersey. Magnus Cort, Santiago Mesa, and then Giovanni Lonardi. Up there too, I think, was Daniel Cavia. Went too far away, Fagundes. Sain Bayar was there as well. 3 riders for Burgos right up there. And then Jordi Guadalupe, I think, takes 5th or 6th. Almost a fairy tale moment for one of the domestic Portuguese team there with their Colombian sprinter.
It was looking good. He got the really good ride through, followed the wheel. And the man with the mo, Magnus Cort, his 32nd professional win, and it didn't take him long in the 2025 season to open the account. He finished off last season winning his last race in the Giro del Veneto. He rode the Étoile de Bessèges in February. It didn't finish on stage 3.
Like half the peloton.
Didn't take him long